With the Tournament of Power underway, there's been a freak reaction in the Dragon Ball community when it comes to the Angels. Are the Angels evil? And do the Angels have a secret agenda? Well, in this video, Geekdom and I will discuss all of the hints today. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So, starting off with the first hint, we have the one where the Grand Priest was the one who set up all of the rules with Zeno. And as we've learned earlier in Dragon Ball Super, as the Grand Priest actually set up the rules with Zeno, he decided in conjunction with Zeno, who's a childlike character who doesn't make very good decisions for himself, that all of the universes would be erased if they lost in the Tournament of Power. And that makes you wonder, Geekdom, does he have some sort of agenda to wipe out all the universes if he wanted the losing universes to be wiped out?
Well, that's the theory, and obviously the relationship that's being presented to us between the Daishinkan and Zeno is one that seems to be sort of like he is the grand babysitter in addition to being the Grand Priest. Sort of like a fatherly figure to him, almost as if the Grand Priest is, you know, guiding Zeno to make certain decisions. Now, Zeno wanted to destroy the universes, but for all we know, it could have been a suggestion by the Grand Priest. So yeah, I mean, the manipulation aspect of all this is definitely there. Zeno seems to be very, very naive. I could totally see this whole thing being a plot.
But the fact that Zeno doesn't understand that there are twin universes in this entire multiverse and the Grand Priest would have to explain something so basic means that he's very out of the loop.
That struck me very interestingly because the idea that I had thought was that Zeno was the creator of the universes. He's like God, and apparently that's not the case if he doesn't know. How could you create something and not know what you created? Then again, there's tons to do to knock up girls and run off on them, but that's a different story. Anyways, the idea here is a theory that our friend Mike from Laughingstock Media, had don't edit that out, had told us, which is his idea that perhaps Zeno is not the true Omni King. There may be a higher Omni King, possibly a biological father to Zeno. It could be the mysterious Zarama. It could be him. It could be a character we haven't been introduced to yet. There's still a lot of possibilities, but I feel like more and more it is coming to light that Zeno may not be the ultimate power in the universe.
Right, and I do think that if we just want to talk more specifically about the evil angels, it would make sense that the Grand Priest could use this manipulation to talk to such a childish character. But to move on to my second hint, let's talk about the angels actually surviving. So it was said in Dragon Ball Super that out of all of the universes that are going to lose and be wiped out, no matter what happens, all of the angels are going to stay around. And obviously with the Grand Priest being the father of all of these angels, you can think that he negotiated with Zeno to do all of this as he was talking to Zeno and saying this in the series earlier. And that makes me wonder, if the Grand Priest negotiated with Zeno to keep all of the angels alive, does that mean that he wants all of his angels around after the Tournament of Power for his own evil agenda, or for his own secret plan and will anyways?
Maybe it's not an evil agenda. I'm going to play devil's advocate with you. Maybe because he is the father of the angels, we know that he's Whis and VADOS' father, and it's implied that he fathered the other, 10 or so angels that are still alive. It could be possible that his plan is more so just to spare his children, because he actually cares about his children. So he probably told Zeno, listen, can you at least spare my kids? And Zeno was like, all right, no problem. But to your point, we were told that when a god of destruction dies, the angel becomes inactive. That's the word that was used, inactive. But we were never told what inactive means. For all we know, inactive just means that they're unemployed, but they still have all that power. So it could be possible that the Daishinkan is using this tournament to free some of his children from being captive and working for the gods of destruction, being their attendants and working for Zeno. This whole thing could be a big celestial rebellion going on here.
The fact that he's specifically calling out the angels, obviously they're his kids, that might imply that he wants them around for a future plan. That could be a hint to something else. But to move on to my next point, this is something that I've had a little bit of a problem with in the Dragon Ball Super series, as you guys have heard me talk about this before, and this would be the fact that in the Future Trunks timeline, the gods of destruction were killed because the Supreme Kais were killed, so as an adverse effect, the gods of destruction died, and that made all of the angels useless. Even if the angels have to be neutral based on their role, this tells me that he must have been aware of what was going on in the Future Trunks timeline. So with that said, I'm using all of this to prove that the Grand Priest probably just didn't care, or it was just poor writing.
Or it could be that Goku Black was doing his job for him, because in the future timeline, he didn't have to have a Tournament of Power because Goku Black was already going around killing the Kaioshins, which in turn killed the Gods of Destruction, which in turn made the Angels inactive. If the grand plan that I mentioned in point number 2 is true, that he wants to make them free, Goku Black is freeing them. So that could mean that at some point in the future timeline, the Angels are floating around somewhere, maybe with the Daishinkan, and maybe they're plotting something, but before they could plot anything, before the plan came to fruition, it could be possible that Goku grabbed future Zeno and took him to the past. And the idea could be the Grand Priest doesn't want to kill Zeno, but wants to overthrow him and become the new king of everything.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would probably say to respond to that is based off of what we've seen in the series, it doesn't seem like the Grand Priest really has to overthrow Zeno, because when we look at Zeno, it's not hard to overthrow him based on how easy it is to make friends with him since he's so childish. But to move on to one of my older points here, Geekdom, you know, this goes back to the Universe 6 arc. And earlier in Dragon Ball Super, when a planet was being blown up, VADOS made a very wicked smirk on her face, and as you guys know, a wicked smirk says everything about a character, and a lot of fans were already speculating that she could have been an evil character. But the interesting thing is, going back to the Universe 6 tournament, there was a scene where we heard that VADOS was trying to kind of bribe Hit into using this magical cube to get around the universe, as Hit as an assassin. It would kind of make sense, but that is kind of a sneaky thing, wouldn't you say?
I would put that more along the lines of the fact that these guys have wicked smiles, and everybody thinks that when, like we said, everybody thinks that when somebody smiles in Dragon Ball, they're evil. But there is some credence to the idea that VADOS could be evil. VADOS seems to be very condescending towards her god of destruction, Champa, whereas Whis seems to be a little bit more connected to characters like Goku, Vegeta, and Beerus. So I wonder if Whis is going to be the odd man out. I wonder if Whis, if the Angels turn, if Whis is going to be the one who's kind of caught in the middle here, you know, or if he's going to turn too. And then the Daishinkan can be like, well, that's not good. And again, it's another Zamasu, except this time much worse.
Looking at Dragon Ball Super, Whis definitely seems, from what we've seen, to be a lot more connected to Universe 7 than does VADOS. So if there is this Angel Rebellion, I could definitely see Whis kind of having a problem going through with the orders as opposed to the others. But ultimately, Geekdom, if I had to save my icing on the cake as to why I think it's hinted that the Angels could be evil, it would have to be the Mojito smile. Now, I understand we already made a joke earlier about a smile saying too much, but why in the world would Mojito smile when his universe literally just got wiped out by Zeno? And as we would have guessed before, we don't know the full process, but if what we were thinking earlier goes through and he would become defunct and inactive, he shouldn't be smiling about this. But if your theory works, then it says that there's more to this agenda than what we think. And the fact that Sidra's gone, that tells me that, is he somewhat relieved that they're gone? Why would he be happy?
Well, the idea is that the Universe 9 Kai was a complete douche, and that Sidra was kind of like his lapdog. So it is one of those things where, I mean, I remember the Toei bio kind of hinting that he doesn't really like his godly, I guess, co-workers, for lack of a better term. So he could be smiling because he doesn't have to deal with Ro and his BS. You know, that could be why. Or, as you said, it could be a much more sinister motive. And I think the guy's creepy as hell, not just because of his smile, because of that damn oatmeal box haircut, bro. He's got the haircut of the guy on the oatmeal box, and I just don't trust a man who has that. He looks like the No Country for Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men, bro. So the thing is, I don't trust him, bro. So yeah, it could be that he's happy, but again, you shouldn't be happy at so many lives being destroyed. But again, these guys just don't seem to give a damn, or they just don't seem to care. So it would make sense in that aspect.
And remember, guys, it was said in the series that the Angels have to remain neutral on issues. They can't actively participate in specific things unless they're, you know, obviously being associated with the God of Destruction. But ultimately, guys, the conversation doesn't end here, as the comment section is always an extension of our video. And let us know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think there's an angel agenda? Do you think there's a secret plan? Do you think they're evil? Do you think we're reading too much into this? Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And Geekdom, from my final 2 cents on this topic, I say that I definitely think that there is an agenda. I think all of the signs are starting to come together. And what's your final take on this?
I think Toei is giving us clues of something, and even if they're not, they got the community talking. Toei is very good at getting the community to talk.
Right. And also, guys, in addition to this video, also check out Geekdom, who's also going to be doing a similar topic to this soon on his channel. And when that happens, I'll post a link to it in my description. So with everything else said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.